I still remember the first time I met Lily. She was wearing purple overalls with one strap dangling off her shoulder, her hair a tangled halo of chocolate curls that framed the most uncertain pair of brown eyes I had ever seen. She clutched a stuffed fox that had clearly seen better days and stood behind her father's legs as if they were a wall separating her from the world. "Carol," Daniel said with a hopeful smile, crouching to gently coax her forward. "This is Lily." "Hi there," I said, squatting down to her level. "I've heard so much about you." She didn't say anything, just stared at me with that look kids have when they've seen too much, too soon. She was 4 years old, and she'd already learned that the people who were supposed to stay often didn't. Vanessa, her biological mother, had walked out when Lily was 2. According to Daniel, it had started with missed dinners, then disappeared weekends, and finally, no calls at all. The last straw had been the night Vanessa vanished, with a backpack full of painkillers and a promise she never kept. After that, Daniel stopped mentioning her, and Lily stopped asking. Daniel and I dated for almost a year before I moved in. It wasn't a whirlwind romance. It was steady, thoughtful. Two people who'd already been burned trying to build something with care. But it was Lily who made everything real. She started calling me Miss Carol, always with a pause, like she was testing the word. "I made this in school today," she said one afternoon, holding out a crayon drawing. Stick figures of me, her, and Daniel. Underneath, in big block letters, "My family." I hung it on the fridge and didn't stop smiling for the rest of the day. It wasn't easy at first. I read every parenting book I could find and still felt like I was fumbling in the dark. She wet the bed for the first 2 months, wouldn't let me brush her hair without crying, wouldn't eat vegetables unless Daniel was sitting beside her. But then came the little shifts. One night, she climbed into bed between us during a thunderstorm, cheeks wet with tears, and whispered, "Can I call you Mom?" I froze. Not because I wasn't ready, but because I wasn't sure I was worthy of it. "Only if you want to," I said gently. "I do," she replied, and nestled against me like she had finally found home. From that moment on, I wasn't Carol. I was Mom. The years after that were full of all the things that make up a childhood. I was the one who packed her first lunchbox, cutting the sandwich into heart shapes, and slipping in a note that said, "You're going to do amazing things today." I held her when she had the flu, placing a cold washcloth on her forehead and singing off-key lullabies while she drifted off to sleep. I taught her how to tie her shoes, how to braid her hair, how to make pancakes on Saturday mornings, and how to apologize when she messed up. I cheered at every dance recital and clapped even louder when she forgot her steps and burst into nervous giggles. She called me every name you'd expect from a daughter: Mommy, Mama, Mom. She never asked about Vanessa, not once in over 15 years. And I never brought her up either. When Lily was 16, she got her heart broken for the first time. Some boy named Jeremy had taken her to homecoming, held her hand in the hallway, and then ghosted her a week later for someone else. She came home sobbing, her mascara running, hair tousled from rain. "I wasn't good enough," she cried into my lap. I held her for hours, whispering that heartbreak wasn't a measure of worth, that the people who couldn't see her value weren't the ones who got to keep her. Daniel poked his head in the room once, holding a box of tissues, but left when he saw the two of us curled together on the couch. She was my daughter, not by birth, but by every action, every memory, every moment that mattered. When college applications came, I sat at the kitchen table with her, proofreading essays and encouraging her to aim high. "I can't do Columbia," she said once, biting her lip. "That's too much." "Yes, you can," I told her. "You were born to do big things." She got in, full scholarship. I cried harder than she did. Lily grew into the kind of woman who turned heads not because she was loud, but because she was magnetic, graceful, kind, smart in a way that made you listen. And every time someone said, "You raised an incredible daughter," I smiled and nodded, even if I wanted to shout, "Yes!" I did, because she was mine. I never thought I'd need to defend that. I never thought she'd forget. I first heard her name again over dinner. It was a quiet Sunday night. Daniel had cooked his famous lasagna. Lily was home from college for the weekend, and the three of us were laughing about some awkward moment she'd had during a group presentation. Then Lily wiped her mouth with a napkin and said it. Just like that. Like she wasn't detonating a bomb right in the center of the dining room table. I found Vanessa, she said, not meeting my eyes. My birth mom. The clinking of silverware stopped. I could hear the hum of the fridge. The silence that followed was long enough to make Daniel glance at me, cautiously, like a man trying to defuse a situation he hadn't prepared for. You? What? I asked, trying to keep my voice even. Online, a few months ago, she said. She's living in Oregon. I messaged her. We've been talking. A heavy pause dropped between us. I took a slow breath and asked the only thing I could in that moment. Why didn't you tell us? I didn't know how, she mumbled. I wasn't sure if I even wanted a relationship. But she's changed, Mom. She's sober now. She said she regrets everything. Mom! She still called me Mom. But now, somehow, it felt like a label someone had scribbled over with a pencil, as if something permanent had suddenly become erasable. She left you, Daniel said firmly. You don't owe her anything. I know, Lily whispered, but I needed to see for myself. I stood up and started clearing plates, needing to move, needing to do something. My hands were shaking. Lasagna scraped into the sink, dishes stacked with a clatter. She gave birth to me, Lily continued, watching me carefully. That's always been part of me, a missing piece. I gave you everything, I said, louder than I meant to. That's not a missing piece. That's a scar. She flinched. So did Daniel. Carol, he said gently. But I couldn't stop now. The words poured out like floodwater. She walked out on you, on us. She vanished, and I was there. When you were sick, when you were scared, when you needed someone to hold your hand, I was there. I'm not trying to replace you, Lily said, her voice cracking. I wanted to know where I came from. And I understood that, intellectually at least. But emotionally, it felt like betrayal. And that was the first time I realized, deep down, she had never stopped wondering about the woman who gave her life, even as I gave her everything else. Vanessa started calling. At first, it was innocent. A text here and there, a missed call that Lily mentioned in passing. Then came video chats, flights, visits. I didn't stop her. I couldn't. She was an adult, forging her own answers to questions she'd buried her whole life. But each new interaction with Vanessa felt like a thread unraveling in a sweater I had spent 20 years knitting. Lily grew distant, not cold, but filtered. She no longer shared every detail. She started saying things like, Vanessa told me this recipe, or Vanessa said she used to sing that song to me. It stung. Daniel told me not to take it personally. But how do you not? Then came the day she got engaged. His name was Ethan. Sweet guy, quiet, thoughtful. He adored her. I saw it in how he looked at her, how he listened. They met at a campus fundraiser. He was pursuing nonprofit law. She was managing community outreach programs. They clicked immediately. She told me first, bounding through the front door, flashing the ring, crying and laughing all at once. I said yes! I said yes! She shouted, flinging her arms around me. And just like that, the ache in my chest softened. For a moment, it was like it had always been. Just us. We planned everything together. Venues, colors, flowers. I went dress shopping with her and her bridesmaids. I cried when she chose the gown. I tucked away scraps of lace and ribbon like keepsakes from a dream. I thought, she still wants me. I'm still her mother, until the invitations went out. It was a Tuesday when I found out. A friend, someone I barely knew from the local florist shop, bumped into me at the grocery store. Can't wait to see you at Lily's wedding next month, she said casually. I smiled. Yes, it's coming up fast. She nodded. Vanessa's flying in, right? So wild. The real mom gets to walk her down the aisle. I froze, staring at her. Sorry, she said quickly. I thought you knew. I managed a smile. Of course. Take care. I didn't even remember driving home. I waited until Daniel was asleep, and then I pulled out the invitation from where I had tucked it in the living room cabinet. I hadn't opened it before. Lily had handed it to me quickly, in the flurry of errands and excitement. I sat on the couch, heart pounding. When I finally slid it out of the envelope, the words were plain and devastating: Lily Ann Parker and Ethan Samuel Green joyfully invite you to celebrate their wedding, as they are joined in love by Vanessa Morgan and Daniel Parker. I read it twice, then a third time. No mention of me, not even my name. Vanessa was walking her down the aisle. I wasn't even acknowledged. I didn't cry. Not yet. I simply folded the invitation, returned it to the envelope, and placed it back in the drawer. I stayed awake all night. The next morning, I left Lily a voicemail. We need to talk. Lily came over that evening. I didn't say much on the phone, just, come alone. My voice must have said the rest. She knocked twice and stepped into the living room like it was a stranger's house. She looked nervous. She had a Tupperware container in one hand, something she'd baked, like a peace offering. Banana bread, I think. I didn't even glance at it. I know, she said before I could speak. You saw the invitation. I nodded once, standing stiffly by the mantel. I was going to explain, she continued, biting her lip. I didn't know how. You could have started with my name, I said flatly. Her face crumpled a little. Mom! Don't. That word had been my whole identity for her since she was 5 years old. I couldn't bear to hear it now, not when I felt erased. She sat down slowly on the couch, like her legs were too heavy to hold her. I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did. I wasn't trying to choose between you and Vanessa. But you did! Silence stretched between us, sharp and hot. She looked like she wanted to crawl out of her skin. I almost wanted to hug her, but not yet, not now. I raised you, Lily, I said. My voice trembled, and I hated that it did. I bandaged your knees. I stayed up all night during your asthma attacks. I taught you how to ride a bike. I sat through every school play. I held your hair back when you got food poisoning at camp. I cried with you when that boy cheated on you in 10th grade. I know. No, I don't think you do. My hands clenched into fists. Because you put her name on the invitation. You let her walk you down the aisle. And you left me off like I was a babysitter who did her job and quietly stepped away. She looked down, eyes brimming. I wanted to honor her, she whispered. She missed everything, but she's trying now, and I thought it might mean something, to have her there for the big moment. And me? I asked. What do I get? You get everything else, she said. You've had everything else. Every bedtime story, every holiday, every late-night phone call. I didn't put your name on the invite because you didn't need a title to prove what we are. You've always been there. My voice dropped to a whisper. But I needed it, Lily. I needed to know I still mattered. She blinked, stunned. You think I don't love you? That's not the point. You made a choice. You gave her the place I earned. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She's my birth mom. That doesn't make you less. It just makes her there, too. No, Lily, I shook my head. It makes me invisible. Daniel tried to calm things later, after she left in tears. She's young, he said. Torn. You know how complicated this is. I do, I admitted. But that doesn't mean I'm not hurt. He took my hand across the kitchen table. She loves you, she always will. Then why does it feel like I've been fired from the role of her mother? I asked. He had no answer. Neither did I. I didn't go to the wedding rehearsal. I told them I had work. I lied. The truth was, I couldn't stomach watching Vanessa practice the walk I had dreamed of taking. I couldn't watch her place Lily's hand into Ethan's like she was the guiding figure, the parent, the mother. Instead, I sat at home, flipping through photo albums, first day of school, birthdays, camping trips. There were hundreds of moments stitched together like a quilt. My fingerprints were on every page. And yet, not one of those memories would be spoken about at that altar. The morning of the wedding, my phone rang. It was Lily. I let it go to voicemail. Then came a text. Please come, just come. Even if you sit in the back. I need you there. Part of me softened. But the wound was still too raw. I didn't answer. I watched the clock, watched the hour come and go, and when I finally opened my phone again, there was a photo from Daniel. It was Lily, dressed in white, glowing, smiling, and beside her stood Vanessa, holding her arm. That night, I cried harder than I had in years. Not just for what I had lost, but for what I realized I could never fully have. I had raised Lily, loved her fiercely, protected her when the world was cruel, but I could never change the blood in her veins, or the longing that blood carried with it. That was the cruelest part of motherhood, I realized, that you can give your whole heart to a child, but you can't make them choose it back. The day after the wedding, the house was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that clings to you, not peaceful, but hollow, like an echo that never ends. Daniel came home that afternoon. He walked in carefully, as if testing the air before saying anything. I didn't greet him. I just sat by the kitchen window with a cup of tea that had gone cold hours ago. She looked beautiful, he said, placing a small paper bag on the counter. I know you didn't ask, but I thought you'd want to know. I didn't respond. I couldn't. He took out a box. It was a slice of wedding cake. She saved this for you, said you always liked lemon the best. I stared at it. The frosting was delicately piped with tiny white pearls, a lavender flower on top. She thought of me after the fact, I said flatly. Nice. Daniel sighed. Carol, she's young. This doesn't erase everything she feels for you, no, but it erases how she made me feel yesterday. He nodded, the hurt in my voice undeniable. Then he pulled something else from the bag. An envelope. My name was written on the front in Lily's handwriting. Just Carol, no Mom. No Mama C, the nickname she gave me when she was 10 and full of sass. She asked me to give you this. I hesitated. For a moment, I wasn't sure if I even wanted to read it, but eventually, I took it. Daniel left the room, closing the door behind him. I sat down, hands trembling, and opened the letter. Dear Carol, I know you're hurting. I felt it in every word you didn't say. I felt it in the silence at my rehearsal. And most of all, I felt it when I didn't see your face in the crowd yesterday. And I don't blame you. I made a terrible mistake. I wanted to do something symbolic, something that honored the woman who gave birth to me. I thought if I gave Vanessa that role, it would close some loop in my heart. I didn't realize I was breaking another in the process. It wasn't until I was standing there, holding her arm, that I felt it. The absence. The weight of it. You weren't there, and everything felt off. Vanessa smiled and posed and waved to the guests. But when I looked at her, it wasn't the face I'd seen in every milestone. It wasn't the voice that soothed me after nightmares, or the hands that tied my shoes before school picture day. It wasn't home. You are. Carol, I made a foolish, selfish decision. I thought I could balance both sides of my heart, the woman who left and the woman who stayed. But the truth is, there's no comparison. You didn't just raise me, you shaped me. Everything good in me, every ounce of grit, kindness, and courage came from you, from the example you lived every day. You were never just my stepmother. You were the constant, the anchor, the real mom in every way that matters. And I threw that away. I don't know if you'll forgive me. I don't know if you'll even want to speak to me again. But if you do, I'm here, waiting, hoping. Love always, Lily. I didn't realize I was crying until the tears smudged the ink at the bottom of the letter. My heart felt like a cracked vase trying to hold water. Still broken, still leaking, but something about her words clung to the shards and held them together. She knew, she finally understood. It wasn't about being invited to walk her down the aisle. It was about being seen. And in those lines, she had seen me again. Later that evening, I took the wedding cake slice and placed it on a plate. I lit a candle. I sat at the kitchen table and took a bite. Lemon, tart and sweet, just how I liked it. Memories came flooding back. Lily in pigtails, baking cookies with me, asking for another bedtime story, begging to wear sparkly rain boots on a sunny day. I had been there for it all. And now, maybe there was still more to come. The next morning, I sent her a message. Come for tea. No need to bring banana bread, just you. Let's talk. The doorbell rang at 2:01 p.m. Punctual, like she always had been, except, of course, when it really mattered. I opened the door slowly. There she stood. Lily! Her golden hair pulled into a low bun, soft makeup barely masking the puffiness around her eyes. She clutched her purse with both hands like it was her anchor in a storm. No wedding gown, no fanfare. Just my girl, standing on my porch, looking like she'd aged 5 years in 5 days. Hi, she said, voice small. Hi. We stood there for a beat too long, silence stretching like taut thread. Finally, I stepped aside. She walked in. The house smelled of chamomile and ginger cookies, comfort scents. She sat at the kitchen table while I poured tea. No small talk, no, how's married life? I brought the tray over, 2 cups, honey, a plate of cookies she once called too gingery, but always ate anyway. She looked around the kitchen like it was a museum. It's the same. Why would I change it? She nodded. Then softly, thank you for inviting me. I almost didn't. I wouldn't have blamed you. We sipped. The warmth filled the space between us, doing what words hadn't yet managed. I read your letter, I said. Her eyes lifted to mine. And? It broke me, and it began to mend me. I'm sorry, Carol, truly. I've never regretted something so much. Why'd you do it? She looked down, twisting her wedding band. I think I was trying to impress Vanessa, or maybe trying to prove to myself that she still mattered, that I mattered to her. You thought doing that would win her over? I thought it would make her stay, give her a reason to show up. I let that sink in. Did it? No, she whispered. She left right after the photos, didn't even wait for the first dance, said she had a plane to catch. Of course she did. And now, Lily continued, I feel like I lost you trying to keep her. I took a long sip of tea. You didn't lose me, but you pushed me farther than I thought I could go. I know, she said, tears forming. Every time I looked around at the wedding, I kept waiting to see your face. I wanted you there, but I didn't give you a reason to be. My voice cracked. I raised you, Lily. I sacrificed. I stood in when she vanished, when she called twice a year and sent postcards instead of birthday hugs. I know, Carol. You're the reason I had stability. You packed my lunches and helped me pass geometry and held me when I got my heart broken. I don't know who I was trying to be that day, but it wasn't the girl you raised. We were both crying now. I missed you at the altar, she said. It didn't feel right without you. I missed you the day before, I replied, when I waited for you to realize I was never temporary. She reached across the table, cautiously. I hesitated, then let her take my hand. I'm not asking for forgiveness all at once, she said, but I'd like to try again. I'd like to earn it. It's not something you earn, I said, voice soft. It's something we rebuild, together. She nodded. You hurt me, I added. But I love you. I always have. That doesn't go away in a day, even one like your wedding day. I love you too, she whispered, tears spilling. You've always been my mom. I just forgot for a moment. The worst moment. We held hands in silence. The tea cooled. The cookies sat untouched. But something else warmed between us. The beginnings of grace. As she was leaving, I walked her to the door. She paused before stepping outside. There's something else. What? We're having a small post-wedding brunch this weekend. Just close family, no big show. Just food, laughter, stories. I nodded slowly. I'd like you to come. No fanfare, no speeches, just as my mom. Please. I hesitated, but the hurt was no longer blinding. I could see through it now. To the girl who still needed me. The woman who wanted to make it right. I'll think about it, I said honestly. She smiled. That's fair. She walked down the porch steps, then turned back. Carol? Yes? Thank you for not giving up on me. I wanted to, but love doesn't let go that easily. She gave a watery smile, and then she was gone. But something told me this wasn't an end. It was the beginning. Sunday came, the kind of late summer day where the sun was gentle and the breeze carried the scent of wildflowers. I stood in front of my closet, unsure what to wear. It had been a long time since I worried about dressing right for a family gathering, even longer since I questioned whether I belonged there. The invitation to the brunch sat on my nightstand. I'd reread it 4 times that morning. No printed cardstock, no gold lettering, just a handwritten note from Lily. Just come as you are, come as my mother. So I did. When I arrived, the brunch was already underway. Lily's backyard was warm and familiar, strung with white lights, tables covered in pale green cloths, and sunflowers in mason jars. Soft jazz played in the background, and laughter floated in the air. People milled about, sipping mimosas, balancing fruit salad on paper plates. Daniel saw me first. He looked surprised, and then relieved. He nodded silently and moved aside so Lily could see me. Her eyes locked with mine. They widened for a moment. Then her whole face softened with joy. She came straight over, arms open. You came, she breathed. I said I'd think about it, I replied. I thought, and here I am. She hugged me, tighter than she had in years, maybe tighter than ever before. The moment passed, and she took my hand, leading me toward the main table. I saved you a seat. She pulled out the chair beside hers, the one that had, at the wedding, been reserved for someone else. This time, it was mine. Welcome home, Mom, she said softly. The word landed like a kiss on an old bruise, healing and tender. The meal was simple but lovely. Quiche, smoked salmon, fresh berries, banana bread. I even complimented the coffee, which was terrible, but it made her beam. People were telling stories about Lily and Mason, how they met, their awkward first date, the proposal that went sideways when Mason dropped the ring into a mimosa glass by accident. Everyone laughed. So did I. I listened. I chimed in. I even found myself smiling when one of Mason's aunts called me Lily's mom. There was no need to correct her. It was true. After dessert, Lily clinked her glass for attention. Can I say something? Everyone quieted. She stood. Her voice shook a little. I just wanted to thank everyone for being here today. It means the world to Mason and me. But I especially want to thank someone who wasn't at the wedding, but who's been at every important moment of my life before it. She turned to me. Carol, you raised me with more love than I knew how to handle. You taught me grace, resilience, and what family truly means. I made a painful mistake, one I'll never repeat. But I hope this is the start of something better, something deeper. The guests were quiet, moved. Some dabbed at their eyes. I love you, she said. I always have. I always will. And I'm so sorry I didn't say it sooner. My heart thudded against my ribs. Every cell in my body wanted to cry. But instead, I stood and pulled her into an embrace. I whispered just loud enough for her to hear. I forgive you. We'll keep building from here. And with that, the shadow began to lift. Later, as the guests began to trickle out, I sat alone on the patio. The afternoon sun cast a golden hue across the grass. Lily brought over 2 cups of tea, chamomile, like always, and sat beside me. "No banana bread today?" I asked with a smile. "I figured I owed you a break." We both laughed. It was the first time in weeks that laughter didn't feel forced. She reached for my hand. "I want you to be part of what comes next. Our life. Our family." "You sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." I looked at her. Really looked. And I saw not the girl I raised, not the woman who hurt me, but both. Woven together. Complicated. Flawed. Beautiful. "Then I will be," I said. She leaned her head on my shoulder. We sat in silence as the breeze stirred the sunflowers, and the wind chimes clinked softly in the distance. In the end, I wasn't there when she walked down the aisle. But I would be there when she built her home, when she had her first fight with Mason, when she painted the nursery, when she baked her first batch of ginger cookies and swore they tasted just like mine. I would be there. Because forgiveness, like motherhood, isn't always loud. Sometimes it's as quiet as a teacup on a saucer, and just as strong. If this story resonates with you, hit the like button and leave your story in the comments section. And of course, subscribe to my channel for more real, raw, and ridiculous stories. Your support means everything to this channel, and don't forget to share with anyone who might be struggling with family or recognize their own value. Sometimes the hardest person to stand up to is the one who raised you, but as I learned it, can lead to the most rewarding outcomes. Thank you for watching, and remember, knowing your worth isn't selfish, it's essential.